Don't adjust your set. No, Barry Phillips did not find the fountain of youth. Uh, no, he's on the road. Actually, he's up in Tennessee somewhere with a B'nai Yosef meeting this week, and so filling in for Barry Phillips is our son, my son, Daniel Clayton, our youngest son, and welcome to Foundations for Life.
It's a first.
Yeah, it is.
I'm happy to be here. When Barry suggested that I, fill in for him, I like Barry. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
You guys should keep listening to him.
Yeah, he's not too bad. He is definitely a keeper. This is not. I mean, you're not a newbie to radio and internet. You actually had a program back in. That's kind of ancient history for you, isn't it?
It really is. That was
a few things have happened since that time.
A few, several. Yeah, Chris Knight and I hosted the Unashamed show on Hebrew Nation Radio for, I think it was right at about a year. That was some great experience, but that was all radio. And when I walked in today and saw like the lights on, I was, is this going to be a camera thing? So I wasn't exactly prepared for that.
Yeah, you would have put some more makeup on it.
Yeah, a little bit more, like right here.
Okay. The nut doesn't fall too far from the tree, right? So you guys had that, and then you kind of backed away from that for a pretty significant occasion that happened a few years ago in your life.
Yeah, you could say it was significant.
Okay.
I was really involved with you and with ministry and traveling around a little bit, and we talked a little bit about this on your last monthly message, Rising Generation, shameless plug. And so I, re-met up with Catesby at Revive in 2015, and she actually ended up coming up to our house from Dallas, Texas to Wewoka, Oklahoma. Thankfully it wasn't that far out of the way. And so, her whole family and, a family that was really close to them came up to our house. And as soon as they walked away from the door, I said to myself, I gotta go. I gotta move. This is the one. And so, our relationship from then progressed pretty quickly. We were engaged I moved within 2 months, and we were engaged within 4 or 5 in Israel, which was awesome. Yeah,
on Elon Moray, the infamous tree that you bent down to tie your shoe, and she said, "I do," or "I will."
It was something like that. No, I had this amazing plan in my head to go to this particular spot that I had found a couple years back, and she just waltzes right on by it, like you're just not taking my plan into consideration. But no, it doesn't go that way all the time, though. She went and found a beautiful, huge tree, and there was like a seat right at the bottom. So she was sitting there, and I put the ring on the wrong finger.
That's true. He actually did that. So
yeah, but our relationship progressing. You had taught me a lot about what I should do to prepare myself for being married, and so it felt very natural for me to make the decision to step away from ministry, to step away from traveling, and just put my attention on her. And so it was interesting. It was 2015 Revive that we met up again after meeting in 2010 at Camp Yeshua, and that was the starting point for our relationship to progress. And then it was 6 years later. 6 years later at the Revive that Casey and I are working together with the youth, with you. And that it was like God reminding me, like, you stepped away from this intentionally, and that was good, but don't forget who you are.
Well, go back to the, you moving. That's about the time that infamous verse came into our lives. Many of you have probably read that verse. It says, "A man shall leave his mother and father and cling to his wife." And the mother and father will then follow the son to Franklin, North Carolina, because it's just the way it's supposed to be, I guess. So 3 children later.
3 children later.
Wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
It really does.
And in the last, you stepped away. And you came to me a number of years ago, and having made a desire to go into ministry, to do something you weren't really sure what that was. And one of the one of the most mature statements that you have ever made to me is that you said, "I'm not ready yet. I have no life experience. I need to get life experience before I can minister to people about life."
Mm-hmm.
And so you really just backed off.
Mm-hmm.
But Revive happened. But this has been something that's been coming for a few months. You've had some pretty interesting experiences of just showing up somewhere and all of a sudden you're in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's been kind of unnerving at times, hasn't it?
Yeah, unnerving, but also something that you forced me to do at various times.
No,
you are one of Dad's spiritual gifts is putting people out of their comfort zone. So
yeah, that's pretty much true. And this is about now. We've, as many people know, we've started a congregation here in Franklin. We're meeting on Shabbat at 3:00. Anybody is in the Franklin area, you're welcome to come. Send me an email. I'll be glad to send you an address. You're leading the worship for that, and this thing of you leading worship is something that has kind of been in your DNA, I think, for some time, but it didn't come easy.
No, absolutely not. I started playing guitar, because Stephen, my older brother, he bought a guitar, and I just wanted to do everything he did. And so I bought my own and started playing that, and was really just messing around for a few years. And then it was 2010, after the tornado, that I had a lot of time to myself. The tornado was really a crisis of faith for me, just like stepping out of our tornado shelter, looking at the absolute destruction of everything. Yeah. And just, I remember the very first thought going through my head was, why did you let this happen, God? And, to some people, maybe that wouldn't be, such a big thing. But to me at that time in my life, it was certainly a big thing, just trying to cope with absolute destruction. I was, 15 at the time. And so, we moved a little further away in Oklahoma. We were in trailers for a little while, 8 months, which felt like about 2 eternities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had a lot of time to myself in my own little trailer. And so that's when I kind of took guitar back up again. And even then, I could not play guitar and sing at the same time at all. It was the hardest thing in the world for me.
Well, to give credit where credit is due, the person that you're filling in for this week actually had a lot to do with that.
Very appropriate. Yes, I was in that trailer praying, God, would you make yourself known to me? Specifically, my prayer was, I want to know that you hear my prayers, that you hear what I'm saying to you. And so fast forward a few months from that, and, we are hosting a Sukkot in Sportsman's Lake in Oklahoma. And Barry comes as a special speaker. And to abbreviate the story, he was telling the story of an electric guitar that is just gorgeous. It's a very beautiful guitar. And
it was owned by Dr. Zakina.
Yeah, it came to him as a gift. And he was trying to sell it in his music store, or the music store he worked at. And it just wouldn't sell. And one night he was praying on his porch and, just going through all the stuff he would pray about. And that guitar popped into his head. And he heard the Father say, that guitar has not sold because it belongs to Daniel. And so he told this story at the end of Sukkot that year, or at the end of his stay at Sukkot. And I'm sitting there like, just floored.
I knew this was going to happen. So, I was watching this all progress. I didn't know your prayer, though. Okay, I didn't know your prayer.
Yeah. And it wasn't the guitar. The guitar was a physical symbol of the spiritual gift. It was a physical gift and a spiritual gift in one. It was God saying through this physical thing, I heard you. I know you. And that was probably one of the most significant things in my life. And so that, that perpetuated my, my continuing in music and in worship.
That tornado, people were, so many people, in fact, some listen now. You were generous in those days. It was amazing to watch. And we started getting emails, and people were, God has judged you and all those kind of things. And even to this day, people say to me, that must have been a terrible time. No, the gift of that time was right here. This is the fruit of that gift, that the Father will allow things to come upon your life for reasons that you can't see at the moment. And so for parents, grandparents that are listening right now, I want you to, something that many have heard me teach on is these words that Daniel just said. They weren't original to me. It goes back to before you were born, listening to a youth pastor talk, and he said, you need to allow your children to walk through a crisis of faith. And as parents, especially moms, let me direct this to moms specifically, you want to go in there and kind of nurture it and help them and, make sure that everything's okay. No, sometimes you got to just, let them go out there and let them find it. And, the Father's, he's not nervous about those things.
No, not at all.
He's got them planned.
Yeah.
How many things how many things don't, this is a rhetorical question. How much doesn't happen in our life that he planned for, but we just didn't allow to happen in our lives? That's kind of a scary thought.
It really is. And, the reason you say moms is because, dads generally are more like,
whatever,
walk it off, throw some dirt on it, that kind of thing.
The way he was raised.
Yeah. And so I think what you're saying is kind of relating to what I was seeing in 2015 when I kind of took a step back from ministry was, I need to walk through some stuff and I need to see some stuff before, because we took a year off, or you took a year off specifically after the tornado. Yeah. And it was like when we came back, it seemed like the amount of teachers and everything like tripled or quadrupled. It really felt that way. And so people had just popped up everywhere. And, I felt like as I was looking around, I just saw people who were trying to kind of push themselves out there who didn't necessarily have any experience. Like, the things they say were good, or, their teaching was solid, but there was, in some cases there was no, I don't want to say legitimacy, but there just wasn't the weight and the heart behind it. Like it was teaching the words, but not, really speaking it from your heart.
Yeah, and this is not to be judgmental, but it's something that, I said it even today in our congregation. It seems like everybody and their mother has a commentary online right now because it's so easy. You can go on YouTube and you can start to, find things and you just kind of parrot it. And instead of, you need to be, the only way to speak out of the depth of your well is if you dug it. I can't speak depth out of somebody else's well. I can take their water that they worked for, and I can teach that. But it's when you dig your own well that you can teach out of a water that you found, that you sought after. So fast forward, you're sitting there trying to figure out how to play the guitar for one thing, and you at first had the musical ability of your father, which is like non-existent. Voice was about the same in most cases too, just really the honest thing. And so Daniel would say that he wanted to lead worship. And he came up with this email address of music for him. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. The kid's crazy. He can't play an instrument. I'm watching him. He can't sing. But yet it was inside of you. And that was something that revived. We kind of were talking about dreams, and I was very transparent with the youth there of how I did not help you in those dreams in those days at all. But yet the Father had given it to you. So you kind of, you went to your mom at one time and said, Mom, help me, because Kathy is an amazing singer. She's incredible, has an incredible voice. And you said, I want to learn how to sing, but I can't sing. And she said, anybody can sing. And you started to sing, and she said, you can. It's just what she told me too. But so you just kind of kept on. You never let it go.
Yeah, I mean, I kept it on. I kept it on to myself.
Mhm.
There was just a lot of time. I would, if I ever wanted to play my guitar or try to sing, I would go where no one else was. I didn't want anybody to hear me because it was something that I so much enjoy and such. Like I just remember being in our office, which was a separate building in
Yeah.
Oklahoma. That
Yeah.
I was just playing and actually crying out to God, like, please help me do this
Mm.
because one of the things that looking back, there were a lot of moments, little moments that kind of pushed me along. And one of those moments that was pretty big was Camp Yeshua. Just kind of really being a part of pure worship and just seeing what it can do. And I just remember being a part of it and witnessing it and just wanting to be a part of that. I wanted to. I didn't need my name to be famous. I wanted to be able to facilitate that kind of thing that was happening in that room because it was so powerful. And so I just remember all these times of just crying out to God, please help me sing because I like it so much. And so, I went through a lot of years of, just playing the guitar, not necessarily worship songs, going through standard teenage stuff and listening to songs that were a little bit depressing and that kind of thing. And, looking back, I just see that the enemy was trying to kind of steal me in that way.
Yeah.
I just kind of realized this, just really discourage me and get me going in the wrong places. And, that was such a long thing where there was so many years of just no progress, it felt. And then fast forward to me coming to North Carolina. I moved out here to be with Catesby, and her community at the time that I just kind of jumped right into. There was one woman in particular. Her name was Becca, and she's gone now. May her memory for her be a blessing.
Yeah.
And she and other members of the community really encouraged me a lot. And because she would play the piano and sing, she was the worship leader for that little community. And I jumped in with my guitar because I was comfortable playing guitar. My time at Oak Ridge, the camp that Camp Yeshua was held at, I went out and worked there, and so I was part of the music team up there. Just playing songs I knew nothing about, but I had the chord in front of me, so I was very comfortable with guitar at that point. Though I'm, looking at it, I'm pretty mediocre. There's a lot of things I don't. And they really encouraged me very slow. I was encouraged slowly, and they were just like, you need to just let loose. And through all this time, I'm with Catesby. She's like teaching. God gave her the task.
Literally.
Yeah, the
Literally.
task.
Yeah, the task
of helping me understand singing because I didn't really understand keys at all. I knew that I couldn't sing on key.
Well, you had kind of the same thing I do. Is I have my own key, but it's not what's on the instruments.
Yeah. And so she, I was looking back. Man, I must have been pretty difficult because I would just get so discouraged so quickly because of all of my years of not feeling any progress and just suffering through my own insecurities and that kind of thing. And her and God and the community really worked together to bring me into this place of at least knowing that there is such a thing as a key and that you have to stay in it if you want to sing a song and lead it. So but the moment that worship leading really became real for me was after Becca died.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were praying one night, Catesby and I, and we've just really been in the season the past couple of years of seeking the Holy Spirit in as a tangible thing in our lives. And I remember we were praying one night just about everything, and she had this picture in her head of we were standing in the room where we lead worship for the community, and the door blew open, and there was a wind that she could see, and the wind flew in, and it swept over the piano, and Becca played the piano, and then it came to me, and then wrapped around me.
Mm.
And to me, it felt like God was saying that has been almost like this mantle. The mantle has been passed to you, and I treasure everything she taught me about worship so much that I was like, I can't let this die. I have to do this. And so shortly after that, I led worship at our local prayer room for a little while. A friend of mine runs that, and it just kind of grew from there. And I I remember driving away from the prayer room that first time, just in tears. The culmination and the beginning of my dream.
Mhm.
Literally, it wasn't until a couple years later I realized, like, wow, my dream has come true.
And then you came down to, we were with Tom Eubank down in Jasper, and Exodus Road Band, Tony Boyette, all that group was down there. And Tony just said, "Hey, grab your guitar and get up here on the
Yeah.
platform." So
Tony's great about that.
Yeah,
He was
he
really, really letting you be inclusive. Yeah, so that was fun. He just kind of threw me up there, and at that time I had a list, a very short list of songs that I knew I could do by myself, and so I had a very short list of about 10 or 12 that I wanted to choose, pretty basic ones to get up there with them, and so there's been some moments like that, just all these people just kind of and God, just pushing
Yeah.
me up and lifting me up into this new thing, and I stand here, I sit here, knowing fully well that this is not my talent. Music is not my talent. It's not something I was born with. Some people are born knowing pretty well how to sing, or just being able to pick up the guitar or any instrument really, really easily. And that was not me. All this has come very difficult, in a very difficult manner. And I know that, and I don't mean to sound prideful at all, but through what God has pushed me through and brought me through, and just affirming words of people through all these things, I know that He has anointed me to do it.
So that's the difference between the talent and a gift. There's a lot of talented people out there that never find their gift. And Ryan Cribbs of Exodus Road Band talked about this. Ryan is a talented person in music, but he used his talent for a long time, and literally it just kind of fell apart on him until his talent and his gift came together. And that's when it's become a part of his life. Okay, let's switch some gears here.
Sure.
We're in limited time.
Yeah.
You grew up in this walk, pretty much.
Yes.
You have had bacon, but you don't remember it. You've had shrimp, but you don't remember it. You have decorated a Christmas tree, but you don't remember it. So this has just been your life. Okay. Now all of a sudden, you've had a lot of different experiences in different congregations, different teachers, various things. But now you're kind of putting together something, or we're trying to put together something with this congregation. How would you say that where we're going, where you feel like we're going, is explain it? I don't know how to ask the question, so just figure out an answer.
Because we've been together, for 26 years, I can see through your non-question.
26 now?
I think so.
That happened.
I don't know. Anyway, different story.
It's true.
So, excuse me. A verse that has been going through my head a lot is the one in John where Yeshua is with the Samaritan woman at the well, saying, "There is coming a time when true worshipers will arise, people who will worship Him, spirit and in truth."
Wow.
And that's just one that I want to sit on. I just want to, because it's so simple. And growing up in Torah, I was almost, by the time I was old enough to really know what we were doing, I kind of, I was on the portion of the movement, if we want to call it that had kind of, I don't want to say died to the joy of the Torah, but had kind of at least starting to get lost in the knowledge. And so, I saw a lot of knowledge hungry, just, knowledge at all expense. That's what I felt. Just as I grew up and as I saw, of course, all the end time stuff and, just the prophecies that people made that didn't come true and that kind of thing. And just really trying not very hard not to get burnt out, and which was very hard because it was just constant. And so I've always seen, of course, the validity of the Torah and walking in it to the best of our abilities. And I just knew that something was strange, something was missing, let's say. And so, and especially because I would hear, the stories of that you would tell of Shady C.
Yeah.
And, looking back now, it's like just knowing that, the spirit, his spirit blowing and moving, and, that is, part of my heritage. And it's part of all of our heritage as believers. And so, what I felt when I was in the midst of it all was that we had just strayed too far into knowledge. And so, but it was so encouraging being at Revive because it really felt like, it was swinging back toward spirit. But it's not just a pendulum this way. It's actually like a pendulum going up. Like, now we have that foundation. And I'll tell this analogy if I can. I had this picture in my mind the other day. I am a carpenter by trade right now. And I just had this picture of, what if there was a person trying to build a house? And of course, the most important thing we all know is the foundation. If your foundation's not good, the house is just going to fall over. And so I just had this picture, though, of someone trying to build a house and, just like, we need to make sure this foundation is absolutely solid. Let's use the very best concrete. Let's use the best steel. Let's sand all the rust off of it. And, just all these things. Let's double engineer it, all this stuff. And you spend so much time on the foundation. And you finally get that poured, and then you do the same thing with the frame. You just pour into the details of it, and it's way overkill. And you get so focused on building the house that you forget who's supposed to live there.
You described somebody that I know, actually, that was, got so involved in the building of the house, they really forgot about that the house is to be a home. And this is a difference you've heard me teach on the difference between a house and a home. Great analogy there. That overthinking everything can really bring you to a place of paralysis. That you never get the thing finished. Okay, we've got about 7 minutes left. I'm going to throw a curve at you here. We did not rehearse really anything, which is normal for this program. With Barry, so I figured you do the same thing. You've grown up, okay, you're over two, barely in my mind, but, at 26, your first memories really are about the time 5, 6 years old, Y2K. You lived in over 2 decades of there's something that's going to kill us every single year. It's the Ebola, SARS, Y2K. It's the disaster of the year. Camp Yeshua has, the tribulation game, and there's, it's been kind of a last days scenario for you for all of your life. But yet, what I see in you and hear in you as we make plans is you're not willing to just kind of roll over and say, well, the end's going to happen tomorrow. Here's planet X and the aliens are going to step off of the ship and we're all going to, whatever, get into all those conspiracies.
Yeah.
How do you, having a wife, 3 children, by the way, really great children.
They're pretty great.
Yeah. Your wife is amazing when it comes to children.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
that's what she was about.
That's a true statement. How do you and I know you keep up with the news.
Yeah.
You know what's going on. How do you balance it?
All right, this is a nice curveball. I like this.
Just 6 minutes.
all right. So, because I know people like to take things out of context, I just want to say real quick: you were not trying to knock Camp Yeshua.
Yeah, correct.
For that.
Correct. That was in my mind.
You're drawing attention to the theme of tribulation. It's just been everywhere. So, I'm just going to skip past a few things and just go to where I am right now. And for us to focus or truly believe that we are in the last days, and for our actions to revolve completely around that is actually irresponsible. Let me specify.
Good.
To believe, if you believe wholeheartedly that we are in the last days and that we are not, Yeshua's going to come back in our time, may it be so, that affects all of your actions, you're not going to plan for anything. you mentioned, I have a wife and 3 kids. I need to balance, which is incredibly difficult,
Mm.
the desire for Yeshua to come, the preparation of our minds and our hearts for those days, and the what if he doesn't.
Mhm.
And, all those 3 things have to be balanced. And let's just walk through a scenario. Let's say that you know I just I sell things and I just treat everything like when I'm 30 he's going to come back. But and so I don't make a business plan for my life. I don't make a plan to have a bigger house and to leave anything for my children. And because what you believe affects what you do. That it's just A plus B equals C. And so
That's like Torah.
and so to do all that, it's going to affect what you do. And I need to make sure that I balance all of those things. And so what I think it comes down to for me is, I want him to come back. Absolutely. If he came back tomorrow, if the world just exploded and he comes back, it's great with me.
Yeah, to raise the first generation in the kingdom would be cool.
Yes, absolutely. But I also know that the most important thing for me right now is not my business plan, is not the end times, is not all these things. The most important thing for me today is my relationship with Yeshua, because that is what will teach me and get me to walk and do what I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to walk, to be where I need to be for whatever God has planned. Because and I don't mean to dampen anyone, or I hope people are hearing what I'm trying to say, but people have believed for 2,000 years that the end times are upon us. Literally, like Paul writes about it, like the end times are near, or he says something like that. And so, just having that in mind is sobering to think that people have thought this for many years. And I think all of us should desire with our whole hearts for him to come back, and whatever it means, whether it's hard, whether it's not hard, just whatever it is. But it's so important that we know who we are today and where we live today, and try to balance all those things to make sure that you're living a life that is glorifying to God, and that is spreading hope and joy and peace to people around us, not fear and chaos.
So you described the word that Yeshua says occupy till I come. Mm-hmm. And that word occupy, from a Greek standpoint, literally means do business. Don't disconnect. Mm-hmm. And I've seen so many people that have disconnected from the world. You can't be a witness if you're disconnected. It's Esau that hides in caves. The Father never told us to hide in caves on this one. He said, be a part, be a witness, even in the midst of it. So this thing of fear. Fear is something that
it's something I grew up.
Yeah,
I mean that in a very personal way.
I know you do.
I just remember all sorts of nightmares and sleep paralysis and just all these things. And I think that part of it was just growing up in that era of hearing all of these things and hearing all these in time things. And I don't want to blame that on anybody, but just looking back, it affected me.
Well, I mean, you had a dad that was teaching, survival prep stuff. I mean, which, when I grew up, that was called Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Okay. And, my Eagle Scout, that was what we did for fun. Mm-hmm. But then it became this whole thing, because there isn't that training now. We learn things. I taught things that I hope you never have to learn. You never have to take part in it. But if you need to know how to do it, you can. And so, there was that balance there. Okay, you got a minute.
Yeah, I guess I really hope everyone heard my heart on that last part. Just definitely not trying to, say that these things are not important, that these things are not to be looked at and to be observed and to be thought about with great intensity. I know that, as I watch my kids grow, and as I grow in relationship with my wife and with the people around me, I know that the most important thing is to be able to hear the still small voice, because that's the voice that's going to tell you something's about to happen, or you need to do this, you need to do that. Relationship with God is the most important thing, and it's also what's going to spread peace and joy. And those are the things that we need to really unify around, not the fear, not the other things.
Great, great. Quickly, you are going to have a website available soon.
Yep.
Okay, it's in the process of happening.
Mm-hmm.
Many of you know that Daniel has kind of taken over a lot from Yakov Rice, who has done shofars. In fact, you own Yakov's personal shofar, but Daniel is going to be going back into that. We're still working out the details. Your wife is a fairly decent artist, also, very, and she's going to be doing some things. So that's going to be on your website as you guys develop it. So maybe when you get a little bit more details there, I'll let Barry interview you one day, and I'll take the day off.
Hey, there you go.
That'll work.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Pray for Barry for wisdom, and as these guys are meeting this week with B'nai Yosef, that they would have some very profitable meetings. We appreciate all of you, your comments. I've got my website, Barry's, if you'd like to support what we're doing. We do appreciate that. So thank you, everybody. Shalom.
Thank you so much.